Last night, while I was writing the show, I was watching after 11, the 11 hour with Stephanie Rule. And she said, "Oh, we're going to talk about AI." So that kind of changed what I really wanted to talk about because I constantly hear the fears of AI. And it sort of upsets me because we should never fear progress. We should never fear moving ahead. We should never fear our collective knowledge, all the things that we know. We have learned in our country to fear just about everything, including our shadows. That is how people keep control of you. One of the ways that you keep control of people is putting them in a state of fear. Donald Trump knows that very well, the way he have you fearing the immigrant, having you fear the other. Specifically, the right wing lives in a constant state of fear, because if you are in fear, you're not really looking at that which is really harming you. How does that have anything to do with AI? It's all integrated. It's all put together. Now, when I just came to the country, the first place I went to school was a little school in Brenham, Texas called Lynn College. And that is where I got came there, played some music there, but I was always taking up engineering. But I also I was a fan of economics. So I took as an elective an economics class, Economics 101. And that showed me, I guess, how stupid I really was in the thoughts that I was supposed to be, how economic system really works. I remember the first time I got called out by a professor was when we're talking about building widgets and supply and demand. I believe in supply and demand to some extent, right? If you have a whole lot of people wanting something, right, and to control how the price is going to go up if there's not an abundance of that something. But I mean, if you take a look at our society, what is the most abundant thing that we have on this planet? The most abundant thing that we have on this planet is water. In different states, we have fresh water, brackish water, salt water, polluted water, clean water, all of that. But we've got water. And it's not hard to clean water for consumption. But still yet, we have been programmed into believing that it is something that is worth quite a bit of money. Sometimes we actually pay more for a gallon of water than we pay for a gallon of gas, a gallon of many things. We have been programmed to believe that this huge and abundant resource is scarce. So we have an economic system who knows how to use scarcity for a few amount of people to control. I want you to understand and get this concept real, because all of this I'm going to tie all of this together. So again, water, you think about it. Go around Houston, go around Minnesota. You're surrounded by lakes of fresh water, salt water, brackish water. To turn salt water into fresh water, you just have to do electrolysis, or you just do a little something to pass it through a filter that extracts the salt. And I mean, you can even extract heavy metals, all these things from water inexpensively in volume. But somehow we have been taught to believe that, hey, bottle it up, put it into plastic, and hey, we got ourselves a product to make a lot of money. We let people believe clean water is scarce, and we jack up the price. So I told the professor, I remember we were talking, and he said, what happens if people like a lot of this particular product? And I said, a lot of people are going to buy it from the factory? He said, yes. I said, then the price should fall, because I only need to make X amount of dollars. And if I'm printing so much more of this stuff, this widget, I can drop the price. Professor, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. If it's scarce, meaning if a lot of people want it, that gets the price up. That's my first failure. Not realizing that making things seem to be scarce, even if you can make a lot of it, that you pay a high price. We can look at gasoline, we can look at petroleum, we can look at gas, all these different issues. Make them scarce. There was never a shortage of oil, ever. You have Venezuela swimming in oil, Saudi Arabia swimming in oil, the United States swimming in oil. All these places have always, it's not like we're making a whole lot but we are making new oil. The truth of the matter is as plants decay and animals die in the forest and all of that, eventually that makes itself into oil and carbon and all those things. But that does it on the millions of years. And we're talking about using the resources that's been created just now. So we created this shortage of oil, and we have this economic system that says if you can make something scarce, no matter how abundant it is, but you control people's minds, you control the news, you control all these things, you can give simulated shortages that make then you can jack prices up. So oil prices, we jack up all the time by creating false scarcity. Now, when it came to the internet, remember I said I would get to the internet with the dialogue how I come into the story that I said, you created the internet. We got all these things done with the internet, but then it was taken over by the plutocracy. I remember when, and again, in the early 90s, I remember in the early 90s, as the internet was created, I was ecstatic. Not created, brought to the people. It was created with ARPANET much earlier than that. But starting with the World Wide Web and Andreessen and all these guys, I was excited. It was because the internet gave a certain level of anonymity, right? And as a person of color who understood that our industries had a whole lot of what should I say? It wasn't fair, right? I understood that what the internet meant. The internet actually meant that we have never in our history had a meritocracy. We have always had it where you had to be invited to the club. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what race, ethnicity, none of that matters. We never had a meritocracy. When you go for a job, you aren't tallied up and say, I can actually do this job based on my merit. It was always a choice of somebody, not an absolute set of numbers that determine if you're going to have a job or not. But there are a whole lot of things that went into you getting that job. But ultimately, it was the choice of somebody. And these choices were not objective or meritorious. That's just how we've been. So when the internet came, I got excited. I said, finally, anonymity in what you can do. So if you learned the internet and you learned how to create a product on the internet and just sold it on the merits of it, then nothing else mattered. Whether you're a woman or a man, whether you're gay or straight, none of that mattered, because if you created something on the internet and however you marketed it or whatever, it would be based solely on merit. And for a while, that was the internet. That's how we got a whole lot of people going on there. I mean, even singers. A singer, you go to any church in the United States and you can find some great people that know how to sing so well. They're singers, but when it comes to, I know a lot of folks in my wife's church that sing a whole lot better than Beyonce. But Beyonce was the chosen. Beyonce was the chosen. The record executives and everything, as they went through their stuff, they chose Beyonce. Not that she's the best singer or anything like that, but she was chosen. It is never and has never been a meritocracy. You know how we know that? When the internet came out, we had all these kids that went on and they sang and they did things, and people discovered them on their own, and they were discovered, and their YouTube drive, the amount of people that watch them on YouTube and Instagram and in those days Create Space and all these things, it created stars. It created stars because the internet was open. People were just using it to do things. And if you like something, democracy worked. Democracy made stars. Democracy made a lot of people into stars. And then the plutocracy started to do things with the internet, like throttling the internet, like making sure that the amount of bandwidth you got was based on how much you're willing to pay for internet. And then we had the big companies at the internet deciding whether they're going to give the search engines or going to give people the ability to find you. All of that was when capitalism jumped in to say, nope, Just like we controlled water, just like we controlled oil, we're going to control the internet as well. And people that could just go onto the internet and become big stars, the magic of capitalism still said, only if we let you, only if we invite you. I can speak about politics done right on the internet right now. When you actually see this in action, when something happens known as throttling, when the powers that be decide which streams on the internet are going to be throttled or not, which streams on the internet is going to get performance or not. All of this controlled by this great economic system that is overbearing, that doesn't allow true democracy in all these issues. Again, I hope you're following me from water to oil to internet. And now we're at the stage. And this is where we come into the AI now. AI, artificial intelligence. There's nothing artificial about intelligence. That's a magical word. We use it. All AI is the collective knowledge of all of us. All of us had input and have input and continue to have input into AI. Some billionaire pays a whole bunch of engineers to go ahead and copy, and you hear me right, and copy all of your brains. That's what AI is. AI is a bunch of billionaires that got a whole lot of people to copy your brains. And you know what? It could be that the government could have done that too, right? At no cost to all of us, just as our tax dollar investment. But we have allowed the billionaire to copy all of our brains. And I don't talk about just American brains, everybody's brains. How do we do that? We look at every record there is about you. We look at about everything that you have ever written, every book that ever been written. All of that is sucked into a database. And then engineers figure out how to take all that data and whatever you ask for, search that data, give you a response. And because computers in the aggregate are much faster than your brain, you can get that information rather quickly. So what it means is, whereas a researcher needed 10 people to research a book that he's writing on international relations or whatever, you just put a query into a chat box and you get the response from that chat box. Research of 100 people done in a fraction of a second. That's AI. But again, all of us, and from the beginning of absorbable history, is absorbed into AI. So we are looking at the mass, what the masses, the collective has produced. Every time you write a text, every time you write something on the internet, all of that is sucked in to the thing. And now what that means is, for employment, white collar jobs, we don't really need as many of those researchers anymore. In fact, it'll eventually turn into virtual teachers. You'll soon have virtual teachers that come in and do quite a bit of things. Okay. And that is what's going to happen. AI is the collective knowledge of all of us. Right now, the folks most invested in AI at this point are these billionaires that are over here. Our collective knowledge is what AI is, and the billionaires are mining that. You know how we mine the oil, we mine the carbon, we mine all these things that are not in short supply. These things are readily available just for the person to mine it. Our economic system says we allow these billionaires who have capital to invest in mining that which belong to all of us, and they make the profit from the spoils. That's our economic system. I don't like it. That's the economic system that we have. There are other models for us to consider, but that's what we have. But whatever economic system we have, we should have fairness. The people mine oil, they mine water, they mine carbon, they mine iron ore to create steel, and now they're mining your brain. That's what AI is, the mining of your brain. And we have the capitalists again mining your brain. So after they've mined your brain to create these huge databases, these big farms of computers to keep your data and analyze your data, all of our data, that makes a lot of people obsolete. So there is a new product that these plutocrats are selling. So they sell it to me, they sell it to everybody else. Like, I am using AI so that as a one-person media operation, the amount of research that I can do in one day and validating information. And by the way, AI isn't perfect. You still have to double check the data AI gives you, but it's massive. My one-man operation is doing the work of over 10 people if I were to aggregate all the work that gets done through AI. It is really that powerful because you, all the people that are listening to me, are that powerful as a collective. As a collective, we are all powerful. And that's the magic that we're in now. And that's the magic that the billionaires are working with. They have the ultimate element, the ultimate material, your brain. And that's what AI is. Now, people fear AI. Why? Because remember what I just told you. My one-man operation is working like a 10-person operation. Why? Because of AI and all these tools I'm integrated. So therefore, there are 10 people that otherwise could have a job that won't. Okay. So people are fearful because now it's not just the coal miner that is going to be searching for a job. It's now the people that we tend to give more credence to, more value to, that white collar worker. That's not me saying this, okay? I believe all work is valuable, all work is important. But they're calling it the DEFCON 1 now because it's affecting these people, okay? That's not what we should fear. It's our economic system that has always allowed that to happen. From mining oil and creating false scarcity to now mining your brains and, creating another scarcity. But let's put it this way. What we need now is not a fear of our composite or collective knowledge. What we need is a change in our economic system that takes into account as we progress, we grow, we know more, and in knowing more, we realize we can work less, enjoy our environment, enjoy our families, enjoy all of these things if and only if we democratize AI. And how is that done? Remember I told you we don't need a lot of people's jobs are not necessary anymore. The way it goes is if those people's jobs aren't necessary anymore, that means that the unit cost goes down. What that means is the profit margin of the plutocrat goes sky high. Because now efficiency has increased. I don't need as many people to do the same job. And who profits from efficiency? Capitalism has paid the plutocrat, the capitalist, they have always profited from efficiency. They have always gotten the spoils. We have created robots to make life easier. We have created the wheel, cars to make things easier. And at every step of the game, our current economic system has taken those spoils and given it to a few, not to all of us who created this stuff. We've used a patent system and I wrote a lot about this in my book. I can't talk about that on a 501c3 right now, but I've wrote about how the patent system and all these things were designed to make money for the few. You create a drug, and by the way, we are the ones that create the drugs. A capitalist capitalizes on that drug. That drug is tripled in price, and they take the spoils for something that we all created. And again, we've done it with oil, we've done it with water, we've not are going to do it with your brain unless we change our economic system, unless we create the laws that ensure that we have a true democracy on who owns your mind. And that is what we've got to control, folks. We have to make sure that as AI comes online, that the people don't work 40 hours a week anymore because we don't need 40 hours a week. Maybe you work 20 hours a week and have all these people employed working 20 hours a week. Not that the spoils go to the rich person, the plutocrat, that now that we have machines that use our collective knowledge to do a lot, Well, now we can do a lot less, but we still get paid. That is where we have to look. We don't need to fear AI. We need to put the right people in office, and we need to neuter those who are controlling our minds.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.